Good morning, YouTube. I've got my polar bear pajamas and I'm ready for the second installment of Advice from Valkrin. So since the first episode, I've gotten quite a bit of questions on my Facebook, messages on YouTube, and going through them, I decided to go with a question for today's episode that was simple in length, but has a lot of depth to the question in terms of what I can give you. Probably quite a hard question to answer, but how do I improve my map awareness? Do you have any tips that'll help me check the map more? So this is a really awesome question because map awareness is something that I think a lot of players sort of know what they should be doing in terms of like how to improve their map awareness, but there's still so much misinformation, as well as the fact that most players just don't really know how to improve their map awareness. So I'll go ahead and break it down for you. When you're looking at the minimap, you should only glance at it for about half a second. That's what I typically do. That's what I know other players do. You look at it and you look back to where you're playing. You could be you could be in the process of hitting a skill shot, and if you're in the habit of doing it and well enough, you can glance at that minimap for half a second and get all the information you need. And this is what you should aspire to try and get your play up to, is being able to not only have the mechanical skill, game knowledge, but being able to look at the minimap for the smallest amount of time that you possibly can and get all the information that you need. As the game progresses, from laning phase, the biggest tip I can give you for map awareness, or the habit that you can get into that'll help your map awareness, is every time you go in for a last hit, or every single time you get a last hit, look at the minimap. Just get into a habit of doing that starting off if you feel like you're not looking at the minimap enough, and this will really up how many times you look at the minimap in a game, just through habit. If you're constantly thinking, okay, I'm going to get this last hit, look at the minimap. It doesn't even have to be like a long stare where you're just like, let me zoom in over here and just look at it. No, it's like you just glance at it. You glance at it and you look for the information, like where your teammates are, where the enemy team is. It's just 1/2 second, and you get a lot of information. And sometimes you have to look at it for a little bit longer. Hey, you're walking back to lane. I'm probably going to be staring at that minimap. There's no reason to look at your camera while you're walking from your base to mid lane unless you're entering a dangerous area. But for the most part, if you have time, you should be looking at the minimap. It gives you all the information you need to make stuff happen. So after laning phase, mid game, oh man, this is where it gets kind of tricky, because going in for plays should never be on like the first thing on your mind before you look at the minimap. It should be the other way around. You look at the minimap, okay, we see that they're not all mid lane. They have someone pushing top. Let's engage. The problem is most players get into the zone of just looking at their camera when they're playing an engaged champion or a skill shot champion, and if they see an opportunity, they go in. They don't look at the minimap. They're not considering like where your team is, where the enemy team is. They just see an opportunity. It's like, hey, I can hit this blitzcrank hook. I'm going in. And it's like, you go back and review the gameplay and you're like, what was I thinking at that point in time? Most players just tunnel in. They're just like, I can land this skill shot. They're focusing on the mechanical side of hitting that skill shot, and they're not considering what I think is 1/3 of the game, and that's map awareness. If you break it down into the 3 elements of League of Legends, it's game knowledge, mechanical skill, and map awareness. So if you're always just focusing on having like a perfect hit rate with your skill shots, or trying to get perfect CS, and you're just completely ignoring, or not even completely ignoring, but you're neglecting map awareness, then that's just a big element of the game that you're not utilizing. So mid-game, when you're playing any sort of champion, the mini-map becomes your best friend. When you're split pushing, you see where the enemy team breaks off. When they go into the fog of war, which direction do they go into? Seeing that when it happens is very important. So mid and late game, very similar. When you're playing a skill shot champion, engaged champion, before you go in, you have to look at the minimap. So, and if you're playing a support, get into a habit of constantly looking at the minimap whenever you possibly can. And when you can, try to translate that to other roles, but it gets kind of difficult. And from laning phase, like I said, when you get a last hit or you're going in for a last hit, glance at the minimap from laning phase. Mid game, whenever nothing pertinent's happening, you should be looking at the minimap. So it's just like, what could I be doing right now? If nothing, look at the minimap. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of areas to add gameplay or add your own gameplay and expand into increasing your map awareness. At any point in time in the game, there's information that could be given to you freely just by looking at the minimap. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. It's the second installment of Advice from Valkrin. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed, and I'll see you guys in a new video.